I'm not sure if we care anymore. I'm genuinely not sure we even care anymore. I'm not really sure how to take what I've just seen on that pitch. I mean, effectively, I watched Arsenal play for about 20 minutes of a 90-minute match, and that has culminated in Arsenal losing 2-1 against Brighton at home. And there are many problems that we could talk about tonight, and don't worry, we will. We will talk about them. First of all, good evening and welcome to the Gooner Talk. I am sorry that you have had to endure that. I know it's not my fault, but I apologise that you've had to endure that this evening. On what was, I mean, I'm really frustrated because I can't pin this. Right, okay. I was about to say we can't really pin this too much on Freddie, but the starting lineup you definitely can. But there's a couple of things that we need to talk about because Emery's not here anymore, and I know it's been has it even been a week? It's not even been it's been a week since he was sacked, isn't it? It's just under a week. Obviously, tomorrow will be a week since Emery was sacked. And yes, I get that there's going to be issues, but the issues that we identified when Emery was at club was Emery's communication. Was that the players didn't want to play for him, that his system wasn't working, and he's gone. There's a coach in charge that speaks perfect English. There's players playing there now that don't have to play under the manager they didn't want to play under, and yet there isn't any improvement. And that's why I can't put the blame too much on Freddie. Now, the bit that I do put on Freddie is the starting lineup. Again, very strange. Again, picking certain players that actually I'm not sure why we're going with that system. Willock had a horrible time at the weekend, or rather, at the weekend, and he's had an even worse time tonight. And I cannot think for the life of me why there is one player in this team that puts in 110% effort in every single game that he has played this season, and he's not being picked. And he's 18 years old, and his name is Gabriel Martinelli. He is being utterly shafted because he is not getting picked, and he deserves to be. We can go on all day about how Pepe should play day in, day out. And actually, Pepe, when he came on, looked really positive. But we're not rewarding players that deserve to be on the pitch. He, as Ben Prophet says there, he says the Gooner. So is Freddie picking youth because it's the players he actually knows rather than one he's going with experience? But yeah, half of that's right, Ben. Half of that is, and he knows some of those players. But you got to be picking some of those players like Kolasinac over Tierney. You know, Kolasinac in a decent half of football, or decent 40 minutes of football or so at the end of the first half and the start of the second. I just don't understand some of the choices. I don't understand what's happened to some players. I don't know where Rob Holding's gone. I don't know why Chambers has been taken off. And I know that in terms of Chambers being off at right back, that makes complete sense. Not putting Chambers into the team at right back makes complete sense. But they're defensive-wise, Chambers is fine for me. Chambers has done quite well. So in terms of that, I don't see why Chambers can't be playing at centre-back when our current centre-backs have had so many defensive problems. So many. We panic so much at the back. We panic so much we get stupid yellow cards. We make stupid decisions. And I just don't really understand why we would choose to do that. Let's get some of your comments because I've been ranting now for a few minutes and I haven't really spoken to any of you. Melly says Xhaka played well, and he did. Mohammed says, sorry, Mohammed, I just missed your comment there. I will scroll up to it. Arsenal better announce a permanent manager tomorrow morning. Woon says, I'd rather Chambers than them two centre-backs. Jabalani says, Louise and Socrates are really poor. Martin says, Tom, fair play to you. Giving up your time every game. We aren't good enough. Man on man, we were the second best. Bad on the ball, worse of it. Why is football the worst part of my life? It shouldn't be, should it? Football should not be the worst part of your life, Martin. I give up my time because I think it's a good chance to have a bit of therapy, not just for myself and to speak to you guys, but for you guys to have your say in the chat too. And that's obviously something I think that will benefit you. Kaig says, over 10 weeks since our last league win, and I can't see no win coming in the future. The last time Arsenal went on a run this bad, it was the back of the 1970s. That's the situation that we're in. And there are a multitude of reasons behind that. Poor recruitment, a lack or a laziness to make key decisions, the employment of the wrong people, the lack of planning moving forwards, a loyalty to specific players that should not be at this club, and just the consistency of making odd choices. Like, whilst Granit Xhaka had a decent game, bringing him back into the side still lingers with me after what happened. And if you set the tone in that way, that perforates into the rest of the squad. It perforates the feeling there can be no accountability, that players can play without consequence. And because of that, we're now in a position where I don't really know where we can go from here. I don't really see any coach, even the ones that I want, Marco Rosa, Julian Nagelsmann, Allegri. I don't see these people coming in and changing things because I don't see a team that wants to play. I don't see a team that wants to be here. I don't see it. We've changed our manager. I keep coming back to this point. We have changed the guy that people said was the reason why these players didn't want to play, was the reason why these players were finding their time tumultuous, was because we had the wrong guy in charge. He's gone. And these players are still not playing for this club. And they don't seem to know what it is to play for this club. And they're taking it for granted. And it hurts. It really hurts. But you know one thing that hurt me a lot today? You know one thing that really, really got to me? And it is controversial. And a lot of people told me to shut the hell up in a more or less polite way on Twitter. But the crowd really, really disappointed me today. And I get that it's bitter and it's cold, and a lot of you have travelled a long, long way. I really, really understand that. But from the minute go, we should be back in that team. I was listening to the Arscast Extra, and James McNicholas was saying that he couldn't wait. Or was it on the Arscast? It might have been on the Athletics one. But James McNicholas was basically saying he couldn't wait for this game because he thought that the crowd would be back in Freddie immediately. I heard the song get played through the speakers before the game, and I didn't hear it get sung during the game. And if it was sung, it would have been in little pockets and not very vocal. But there's two sides to it. There's one, the caveat to that is people saying that the players should play and inspire the crowd. 100%. The players should try and inspire that crowd. But there are times when you as a person need to stand up and back our team. And as a group and as a family, we need to back our team, not sit in silence. And then the loudest noise that is made in that stadium twice is the boos that were at the end of the first half and the boos that were at full time. And how can you sit there and feel that? Because remember, when we had a go at Xhaka, I defended the people and said that they have a right to boo. They have 100% a right to boo at Xhaka for what he did. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them for reacting in that way, right? I don't. If you want to boo, that's your choice, okay? 100%. You have a choice to do that. But don't make that the loudest thing that you do at a football match supporting your own team. If the loudest thing that you do all game is boo, then why are you going? Why are you going? Because you've not got a problem doing that. You've not got a problem making that noise. So why on earth can't you make the noise to support the team? For me, it's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. And I will get your comments. I saw there was a donation just a second ago. I need to scroll up and find that so I can give you credit. O'Malley, thank you for the donation, mate. He says, Tom, thanks for the content. We are a mid-table team. We cannot get a top coach because of this. And right now, I can't disagree with you, mate. We are playing worse than a mid-table team. We're losing against teams which are fighting to stay up. I'm not going to say that we're fighting relegation right now, because I think that's ridiculous. But it might not be ridiculous in a few weeks' time. Here we go. Let's get some of your comments. I know that all of them are going to disagree with me. Joe says, hi, Tom. Have you ever noticed how bad we really are at aerial duels? Terrible football, uncoachable team. Yes, so sort of subconsciously, Joe. I think that during set pieces, we aren't great, are we? We're not really good at defending. Ironically, probably the best player at doing that is Granit Xhaka. He heads a hell of a lot of corners away from our box. He does the old Olivier Giroud job. But yes, I have noticed that, Joe, and it is concerning. Daffy says, why bring on Pepe and Tierney at second half when they should be starting? Yes, you're right. They should be starting, and I 100% agree. But the second half we scored, and then we didn't build on it. We just didn't do anything after we scored. We can say all day that they should have started, but that was arguably our best team out there after Tierney came on. Our best team in terms of experience. Maybe you'd swap out the centre back. Maybe Guendouzi comes in over Xhaka, possibly. I don't think that works. There's not enough balance. But we didn't show anything. We did not show anything at all. I really want to see if there's anyone who actually disagrees with me on the crowd thing. Just let me know in the chat box now. How do you feel about the crowd situation? Because I'm really sort of passionate about this. I'm genuinely hurt to be watching it. And I know it's very, very hypocritical. Is it hypocritical of me to say that someone who wasn't there, should they have an opinion? I'm as much of a fan as anyone else was there. I know there's plenty of you guys that are sitting there in a foreign country that love this club as much as I do, and as much as some of those, if not all of those fans do at that game. And everyone should have a right and an equal opinion about it. So, no, I don't think I am hypocritical by sitting here and criticising the support of the ground. So, I mean, tell me what you think. Tell me what you think about that in the chat, and we'll get some of your thoughts. Russ Morgan says, we have seriously bad fixtures over the next few weeks, Tom. We could be fighting to stay up. And this is the thing, is that this run of games of Brighton and Sheffield United and Wolves and Southampton, and this was meant to be the period where we picked up points. This is meant to be the period where we improved. And instead, we've not won a game in 9 matches. And that includes games in the Europa League, which was meant to be the whipping ground, the excuse to sort of play the youngsters or breed the new talent. And we've not even done that. So when we've got, as Russ says there, a really tough set of fixtures on the horizon, we're going to get stuffed. We're going to get absolutely stuffed, because there's no imagination, there's no backing, there's no direction, there's no system, there's no commitment. And that is the only thing that's synonymous throughout this. Woon says, I don't personally think we should be booing. Doesn't help the team at all, but people can do what they want. They pay their money, but I wouldn't do that. And I said that, and I said that you have the 100% right to boo. But in my opinion, that shouldn't be the loudest noise that you make at a football game watching your team. Jaffa Cake, fantastic name. He says the fan base is overly negative and negativity spreads quicker than positivity. The home fans are very poor, have been for years. People keeping hold of season tickets and turning up with bad vibes. And now, if you probably saw, and you can still watch it, it's the pinned, I believe it's the pinned tweet. It's the pinned tweet on my profile on the Gooner Talk Twitter account, at the Gooner Talk TV, if you want to come and follow us. I put a video out because I got really, really frustrated by a video that was released and the reaction to this video of a young mascot, where the players are walking into the dressing room at the Norwich game and they walk by the mascot and they seem to not acknowledge him. And now I can understand that people might see that as, that's a bit odd. I mean, surely one of them could have shaken his hand, and I get that. But it was 6 seconds of video. It was 6 seconds of video, and all of a sudden, an absolute storm began to brew across social media because of this. And it led to the fact that one of our players was forced to tweet out a picture showing the mascot in the dressing room. And that reaction to that 6 second clip that has been a huge overreaction to just see that one thing is clearly shown throughout the fan base at the moment, because we are so pessimistic, we are so down, and people can turn around and say that, well, we're not being inspired to do anything. I'm sorry, guys. I'm really sorry, but Brighton and Palace and Southampton are are a lot worse off than we are right now, and yet their supports are fantastic, and those fans get behind their team. Crystal Palace went down to 10 men the other night and still won, because the backing of those fans, even after they went down to 10 men, was brilliant. And Sacco's challenge for getting sent off was bad, and he deserved to get sent off. Now, if you look at that and you look at that instant, say if that same situation happens at the Emirates, right? Say if one of our players, like Ainsley Maitland-Niles, for instance, one of our players gets sent off for a ridiculous challenge and a stupid challenge. Do you think our fans would turn around and start backing us? Do you think those fans would turn around and really get behind the team after going down to 10 men to battle and help them fight to get those points? Because I don't think they would as a whole, as a crowd. I remember being at the Emirates a little while ago when it was the Spurs game, North London derby, and I was there and I was in the upper tier of the game. And I stood up because the If You Hate Tottenham Stand Up song came on. I mean, a song sung at the Emirates. Imagine that. So long ago now. The song came on and it was great. And I love that song because it shows that we've got that togetherness. Yes, it's a negative song and it's about someone that we don't particularly like, but it brings you together and it gives you that support, and everyone stands up in unison to that song. And I haven't heard that song sung since then, to be fair, which is a weird one because it's one of those common ones that people usually get behind. So naturally, in the ground, back to the story, I stand up and I get a tap on the shoulder, and there's this old fella going, "Sit down, mate. I can't see the game." And that completely epitomizes everything about Arsenal support right now, is that we are such an arrogant fan base and we're such an arrogant, expectant collective that we will prefer to put our own self-indulgence ahead of backing our team, our own self-comfort, our own pride ahead of backing this team. And it's such a sad state of affairs to be in right now, and it's such a horrible place to be as a fan base, because, and it's not me turning around and saying this because I want to insult people, because that's not my intention. I'm not insulting people when I say this, and it's certainly not my intention. My intention is to get people to realize that if they want change, then they need to help change happen. Desperately need to help the change happen. And you have that power as a fan base, as a collective that go and choose to go week in, week out. You have that power to get behind your team. So when we're at the start of a game, in a game that we desperately need to win to go 5th, 6th in the table, scream and shout and support and get behind the Arsenal, instead of just sitting on your hands and booing when we come off at half-time because, we weren't inspired maybe as a team. We didn't play our best football. Because if you're going in as a player getting booed off the pitch at half-time, is that really going to inspire you to come out in the second half? No. What is going to inspire you? People shouting, "Come on, lads. Come on, the Arsenal. We believe in you." But that's not going to happen, and it doesn't happen. And it's a huge, huge shame. It's a huge, huge shame. Let's get some more of your comments. Tayman says, "Stop playing the damn old guys in defence if we are going to lose anyways." Get Eddie Howe, says Georgie1. True, says Diaz, agrees with me. Bassam says, "Why can't Chambers have a go at defensive mid?" Interesting. Monkey says, "Top 4 was going to be an achievement. Now it looks like 4th bottom might be more like a result. #worry." Quezzy says, "It's not just about the fans." Of course it's not. And that's why we spent a lot of the start of the show talking about everything else other than the fans. And I came on to that part at the end. So if you want to rewind and watch that, I suggest that you do. Anonymous says, "Agent Louis strikes again." Matthew Hudson says, "The booing was for the performance. Did you see a good performance? Class is rubbish in the modern game." I know it's for a performance, but and what do you want? I don't understand. I get what your point is. I just don't know. What do you want as fans in that crowd to see change by booing? What are you expecting to happen if you're not doing the one and only thing that you can do in that ground as fans, and that is make a noise, and that is while being there do what fans do and support your team. I don't get it. I don't understand. I really don't. Divine says, Tom, I love your pods and think you're brilliant, but your fan rant is so wrong. Fair enough, Divine. You're entitled to your opinion, and I respect that. Mr. Brown says, hooray, we lost tonight. We lost to Brighton, Tom. We did. John says, the problem of Arsenal is mentality. The decade started from the latter Wenger years, and they cannot defend now. And we simply haven't addressed this. And this is a huge problem, is that as a club, we have not addressed the key issues in this team. For years and years and years, we saw a defensive problem manifesting, sort of inside the team gradually. It started off with having Mertesacker and Koscielny, and whilst I like both of those players, or rather did like with Koscielny maybe, they were never top tier. Then we had like Vermaelen, and we had Squillaci, and we had Gallas, and like we never really. It started very early after the Sol Campbell and Kolo Touré, and we never really was able to replace them how we wanted to. And we just sort of kept buying people, and then we stuck with people for too long, and now we've kept on buying players that everyone could see weren't amazing. Socrates, if you talk to Drew, he didn't inspire anyone. In fact, Drew was like, what the hell are we doing signing Socrates? David Luiz, it was we need someone. Let's get anyone who's within a 30-mile radius. We just continue to make poor decisions with poor planning and penny pinch in certain areas still, even though we have more money than sense sometimes. I just don't understand why we stick and consistently make these same decisions over and over again. Paul says, stuck with one manager for too long. Yeah, that was a big problem too. Kitchener says, would you cheer for a band that is bad at their music? Music has to be good. Then it's up for the fans to cheer them. You got it backwards. It's enough for the board are blaming the fans. You've got it backwards. Kitchener, what I'll say to that is that, right, let's for instance, my favourite band is a band called Foals, hence it's the intro music for the pre-recorded videos. If they play a bad set, I might not be happy, but I don't love Foals. And I don't look at Foals like I look at Arsenal. Arsenal to me is my life. Arsenal is everything. I hope the missus isn't watching. Arsenal is absolutely everything to me. And I don't get how someone can look at Arsenal in a way and say that if a band was playing music then and it was bad, you wouldn't cheer it. Because it's just different. It's a different affection for that object, that thing. So I get your point, I really do, but I don't see it in the same way because it's just different. If something that you've gone to and you've paid money for in that sense, like a band or a music or a play or a film or something, and you didn't like it, yes, criticize, yes, boo, yes, whatever, but it's different. You're stuck with Arsenal for your life because it's your choice and you've made that choice and you have that association because it's part of you. And you should back it and continue to back it because it is part of you. So I see it slightly differently, Kitchener, if it makes sense. I respect your opinion 100%. I just see it slightly differently. Paul Alvis says, need to get a new man in now and act quickly to save the season. Who would you pick? Who would you pick at this stage? Because I'm really struggling to think who I would go for because I don't know who would change it. I don't see anyone coming in right now and changing things. So in the chat box, please tell me, who would you pick to be the guy to come in now? Because it's a big question. Because for me, Arteta, whilst he sort of intrigued me before, I don't think he's got the clout to come in and really change things. I don't think he's got the momentum to do that whatsoever. I don't think there's many people on the planet that could come in and change the mentality of these huge characters. I really, really don't. Throw those names in the chat. I want to know. Sar says Sam Allardyce. I mean, what a pick that'd be. The Joker says Poch, and then Rogers, then Mikel. Dan Fryer says the difference between an audience and a fan base. Yes, 100%. That is spot on, Dan. That is exactly what I'm talking about. George's opinion says Rafa. John says Arteta can't change these guys. Danielle says Rogers, maybe he's a good shout. I don't think he'd leave Leicester. Why would you leave Leicester? Why would you leave Leicester for a team that's in our position? You wouldn't. It'd be insane. You'd have to be mad to leave Leicester. Tekos Man says Arsenal is a corporation, Tom. Hate to break it to you. You're not breaking anything to me, mate. I completely know that already. Gary says I would waive the rest of the season and keep Ljungberg. Go for Brendan Rodgers at the end of the season. I think that the league, you can kiss the league goodbye quite easily. You can kiss the league goodbye. It's done. It is over. There is no chance any manager is coming in. The only glimmer of hope is the FA Cup for a trophy, and the Europa League is the only real route we have. But there are a ton of better teams playing better football. You even look at the Champions League. In fact, I will have a look at that in a second, the Champions League group, just so we can sort of get an idea of the teams that are going to be dropping into our competition as we move into the knockout round. Because I bet there's a hell of a lot of teams that are better than us right now. So we've got Club Brugge. I mean, I don't really know too much about them. I think surely we're better than them right now, surely. Red Star, Belgrade, probably would beat them. Dinamo Zagreb, probably would beat them. Bayer Leverkusen or Atletico, that's still pretty close between those two, to be fair. I mean, if Atletico drop in, there is no chance, even under their poor form as Simeone. Bayer Leverkusen, don't see us beating them at the moment. Red Bull Salzburg would ruin us right now. Absolutely. Eric Haaland would have a field day. Szoboszlai would have a field day against this Arsenal team right now. No chance of beating the Bulls. Borussia Dortmund or Inter Milan, both of those would do us right now. Lyon would probably do us, and they're level with Zenit, so either of those two could be dropping into the Europa League. Either one of Ajax, Valencia, or Chelsea can still drop into the Europa League. Can't see us getting past those guys, maybe Valencia. But how can we say that we would beat any of those teams in any part of the Europa League if we can't even beat Brighton at home, if we can't even beat Southampton, can't even keep a hold of a win against Wolves? What on earth is going on at Arsenal? I don't know. I really, really don't. Kane says even Leeds will do us. Yes, top of the table Championship Leeds face us in the FA Cup very soon, and my God, that is going to be some game. I tell you, that could be horrific. Billy Mack says, Tom, for me, this fan base is why Klopp wouldn't have succeeded at Arsenal. No patience or positivity. I think that's a completely fair point, Billy. I really do. Taxman says, no wins in 9. Don't worry, the fans will stop booing. They will just stop caring altogether. That is probably the next step. Probably Nengares. Abram says, cheeky Wenger in. Says Abram. Can't see that happening, mate. He's too happy in FIFA. Do you really think he'd want to come back now? Piyush says Arsenal was blamed for the defence with Emery. It got worse with Freddie. No change. How long are we going to continue to blame the coaches? Should we accept the fact that this is our level? No, we shouldn't, because we should be ambitious. We should want to move forward. Joshua says bring in Henry. I mean, if you saw what he did at Monaco, you may not want to do that. Wenger as a consultant, I think that the way that Freddie was talking, it sounds like Wenger could already be that for him. He says he's going to speak to him, and Wenger said he's going to support him if he needs it. So that whole when United started panicking and Ferguson got involved with a couple of their managers, so no idea. Owen Martin says Simeone. I have my reservations, but I tell you, he would really galvanise things as a character, but as a style of play and a footballer, does he suit what we have? Probably not. Jordan says, if we don't sign defenders in January, do you think we need to do you think we could get relegated? No, I don't. No, I don't think that. I hate it when people put that on Twitter, and I see Sonny doing it all the time, and I can't stand it. I cannot stand people saying about this relegation thing. That is hyperbolic. I don't get it. Why? Why would we do that? Why? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to even suggest it. Harry Rawlo says the real problem with this team, as there's no intensity on or off the ball. Lucas says we need to boycott the home games until the board invests heavily. This team needs £300 million of personnel and to get rid of 90% of those guys. We do need an overhaul. I'm 100% agreeing with you. Johnny says worst form in the league, mate. Get real. I mean, it is the worst form in the league, 100%. I don't disagree with you. MN says nothing will change until Kroenke sells the team. Jubilani says some positives. We play a bit more positive than under Unai. Xhaka and Torreira not too bad, but they still don't get tackles in high up the pitch. We pass the ball a bit better and less sideways. Oh, well, Jubilani, you've managed to do something that many people couldn't. That is 100%. I'm going to wrap things up there. I don't think there's too much more we could talk about regarding the game. Please drop a like on the video. Just if you really cannot stand Arsenal right now, then drop a like on this video, because I can't and I don't know what to say too much anymore about what's going on. Subscribe if you're new, and you can join us for plenty more of these shows and some more therapy sessions is what we're going to call them. I think that's what we're going to have to change the name of Raw Reaction Show to be, to the reaction therapy, the raw therapy. It sounds a bit dodgy now, setting into sort of pornographic names for films. The raw therapy session. Christ. I hope you've enjoyed the rest of your evening and your week. We will be back again very, very soon, I'm sure, with some more positivity. I'll see you again very soon, and as always, up the Arsenal.